Josh, I guess a good place to start is this. You've got another opening date for the stadium. Kind of, what are your thoughts on getting closer to finally getting this thing open to fans?
Well, certainly excited about that. I think a first order of business, in all honesty, Jacob's just trying to have a great week of practice since we're having to modify what we originally thought would be a week where we'd be outside preparing for that opening weekend. As it stands now, we're just getting our minds together on how to get ready indoors to make sure we're ready come opening day. That being said, all the excitement about the season is good. I mean, from being back on campus second semester to being in the facility to being re-engaged with competition as a group and looking forward to playing again, all these things are positive. They make you feel kind of whole and alive again, especially after last spring, summer, where the opportunity to compete is not there, and you realize how precious that is. So we're excited to be back together as a team. We're excited as heck to put our uniforms on as a group for the first time, and then when that first home game at O'Brate Stadium arrives, we'll be honored to officially open this facility on the field of play for sure.
You mentioned all the indoor work. Is this a better situation now with O'Brate for you indoors to be able to get things done?
Yeah, we're really, really fortunate, Jacob. The indoor area right here at the stadium, starting at 11 o'clock this morning, will be small groups rotating through, getting their work in. It's nice and warm in there. It's spacious. It's well lit. We'll be able to continue to do things we need to do to be ready to play. And that's obviously a luxury, something that we don't take for granted. And so from that standpoint, we're really enjoying the space, the flexibility of the space. It allows us to stay on schedule. So definitely a huge perk of this beautiful new facility.
Is there a certain player right now maybe you're excited about going into the season?
I'm excited about all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that because you never know sometimes going into a season who's going to emerge. You never know how a kid's going to react to competition. I think we'll need our entire roster to be locked in order to get through the year, just following the football and basketball seasons and the well-publicized stops and starts and roster challenges that all sports are faced. I'm excited about all the kids. Now, that being said, it's not a programmed answer. It's how you truly feel as a head coach is moving these kids along every day, making them better, and then starting over the next day. I think that's our mindset. It's an important mindset to have. We'll be a better team tomorrow, hopefully, than we were today. Individuals, though, that really light up the room every day when they walk in, yeah, there's some kids that really do that for you. I think the returning players, the pride they have in being back here, the recapturing of a chance to compete once again, you see that in the way they go about their business. The maturity of certain kids, off the top of my mind, Parker Scott, just the maturity he's displayed as a student and person, as a pitcher in year 5 is fantastic. So there's, is that my audio, fellas, or somebody else's? Sorry, it was ringing really bad. So yeah, Jacob, I think kids like Parker Scott, kids like Max Hewitt, the entire team, the leadership provided, the youth, that is all of it's exciting, man. It really is. We had to take yesterday off because of the roads, and I felt kind of lonely sitting at home, afraid to drive just because you get so used to being around the kids. So yeah, they all light up our day, man.
And finally, for me, we're not going to talk to Bryce today, but how much has he improved? I know he had a big season, big summer.
He has. His summer was very productive at a time when a lot of baseball players were shut down. Bryce took advantage of July and early August and pitched awfully good for the collegiate team out of Tulsa. He got stronger and more physical over the fall. His early outings this spring have been exceptional. He's a stronger, healthier version of himself from a year ago, and a much more skilled, mature young man too. So he's definitely one of the ones that the sky's the limit for Bryce Osmond, and he knows it. And now I think he's starting to take the responsibility each day to make sure he moves it forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. I'll let someone else ask some questions now.
You bet, Jacob.
Hey, Josh, I was just wondering, when you come to such an abrupt stop like you did last year, and baseball is such a game of repetitions, what was it like getting those guys back in the cage, back on the practice field? Did it take a little bit of time to get them back into the flow of things when you came back in the fall? And we see some of the effects this spring?
That's a great question, Eric. I mean, I had those concerns as we sat there in April, May, and June when you knew a lot of kids were kind of stuck. There were no gyms or facilities open. So your first, thought process is, how are the kids going to get back into baseball shape? And I think some of them were able to do it over the summer and came into fall camp in pretty good baseball shape. Some of them couldn't get on the field during the summer and they needed some time in the fall. We had a great fall, though. I think our fall expectations were exceeded in terms of staying healthy, repetition, days on the field. All that was very, very good for us. We felt very good about our team at the end of October. Obviously, it was an extended break. I mean, that's the longest break I've ever seen, when kids leave essentially for Thanksgiving and don't come back until January 15th. So that was a long break. So now we're kind of back into bringing them along with a mindfulness that this is a long race, not just a short sprint type of season, and getting them back in shape right now. So when we hit the field, we are baseball safe, baseball healthy, repetition strong. So it's been a balancing act, Eric. And as coaches, we think ahead as much as we can to protect the kids. Err on the side of caution.
Campus from the Zoom at the Cowgirl softball stadium now to the Zoom at O'Brate Stadium. Here is Josh Holliday.
And then,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say,
okay.
Hope I answered your question there.
Well, I want to also ask you about roster management, and you mentioned this a little bit ago. With COVID, you just don't know what's going to happen. It just seems like depth-wise, that third-string catcher or that utility player is just important as your starters, because you never know what's going to happen any given week. Is that true?
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's the reason why I answered Jacob's question the way I did. I think all the kids really, really matter. And I think at any given point in time, somebody could find themselves in a pivotal role that maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior had no idea that was coming. So to develop the whole roster, to keep kids engaged, to see kids get ready for their opportunity, I think is part of a successful season with all that's going on. And you hit it on the head. There are certain positions where you don't have a ton of guys trained to play those positions, but they're specialty positions. And they're positions where you want to maintain your health and you want to make sure you're sound. So yes, depth is important. Players embracing different roles and being ready for anything is important. Our emotional flexibility over the course of the season will also be very important.
Josh, thanks a bunch. Have a good week.
Thank you, Eric.
Hey, Coach. I want to nice to talk to you, by the way.
Hi, Lee.
I wanted to kind of expand a little bit on what Eric was asking you. You mentioned, Bryce got a chance to actually compete a little bit last summer, but I'm going to imagine not everybody on your rosters has faced live hitters or live pitching, maybe since the end of the season last year. Anticipate maybe a longer adjustment period to the guys getting comfortable and settled in maybe than normal. And would you expect maybe the pitchers to be ahead of the hitters or the hitters to be more ahead of the pitchers? What would you anticipate going into this year?
Well, Lee, I felt like our fall, we were able to get over that speed bump right there, the haven't seen live in a while. I thought in the fall we were able to kind of tackle that one mentally. Most of the kids competed regularly in the fall with inter-squad games. That was one of the real upsides to having a bigger squad, was we were able to inter-squad 3 or 4 days a week. So I felt like at the end of the fall, we were more competitive, strong than we had been. That was a good thing. The extended break now put us back in the position of making sure we brought the kids back up the right way. So now our focus this week and into next week before we start is trying to have the guys game ready and having them physically and mentally sharp training indoors before we head down to play Sam Houston State. So some of that's going on right now. Absolutely. I think the fall addressed the layoff more than anything, but now here we are, second semester, just trying to sharpen our skills and get ready to compete mentally and physically. And every college team's doing that right now. We're in the same boat as so many others getting ready to play. So it's a good time of year to have a great imagination. when you're indoors taking repetitions, you want to envision it in as much of a game-like setting as possible, create those mental situations and feel like you're taking steps forward. And that's what we'll talk to the guys about today, is being intentful and very much in the moment of their training and treating these pitches off of a coach or live at bats indoors like a game, and just getting game ready in that environment.
Thanks.
You bet.
Josh, apologized. Thought I was muted on all devices I was on, but I wasn't. I know so far you've had relatively good weather. I would think you've gotten some really good work in and probably ramped things up a little bit with this Siberian cold streak that we've got going. What does that do to your team? Because it's going to stay fairly frigid until you get down to Sam Houston. From what I can see on the Lee could tell me more at Channel 9. He's around weather guys all the time. But what does this do to your team? Because it's almost like a stall, depending on how much you can get done inside. I guess the new stadium helps there.
Well, it just puts our team in position to really focus this week on some individual things that we need to get right before we head down and play as a team. And so take advantage of this time for pitchers to really dial in their bullpen sessions, hitters to focus on getting their swings mechanically where they want them, a good week in the weight room to keep our bodies strong, getting through that early season conditioning phase, and spend some time talking about the game and using our minds to get ready to play as much as our bodies. So, there's such an important balance of the physical components of the game and the mental components. And when you get great weather, you're really outside focusing on physical components like you should be. But maybe weeks like this are made to sharpen your skills mentally. And like I said before, have great discipline indoors to get ready to play and take this challenge on and beat it, right? That's the one we have in front of us, and that's what we talk to the kids about.
Josh, a lot of your fellow coaches, a lot of experts that follow college baseball feel this could be the greatest college baseball season ever, because last year was probably the worst, being stopped in the middle of it. So many guys, so many talented players are back. Maybe teams are more stocked with talent than they've ever been. How do you look at this? And with you bringing in your freshmen, your new class from last year, how is, I guess, a greater length of age group, how are they blending together? Older guys that are back again, you've got a bunch of those, and then the young guys that came in.
Well, we're lucky, Robert. The older kids that you mentioned that kind of form that elder statesman club on the team are some of the greatest kids you could ever hope to coach. And the example they set is positive. It's strong academically. It's strong behaviorally. Their work ethic is fantastic. So the example that those guys set for our team, especially the 18-year-old kids just getting here, is a very, very positive one. One of the things I've been mindful of all year is bringing the team together as often as possible when it's safe to do so, because we do have to be mindful of large gatherings and being inside a lot. You can't be quite as normal as you used to be. And some of those interactions for the team, spending time together and doing things they would normally do, we've had to ask them to stay away from that for safety purposes, whether it's gathering for a Super Bowl party or what they do on the weekends. I mean, there's sacrifices being made on the kids' end to stay healthy, and those are good decisions to make. But some of that time spent together getting to know each other, maybe we've been a little short there, but I do believe the team has meshed well, and that's a compliment to the kids that we have. And I think nothing brings you together like your first competition against another team. So I look forward to what competing does as it galvanizes us as a group. And, it's normally the teams that improve day to day once the season starts that are the best teams at the end, and that's where we want to be.
Last thing from me, your team looks so good on paper, outfield, infield, pitching, hitting prowess. As you get ready to go to Sam Houston and open the season next week, is there anything you're curious about? Kind of you look at and say, I think we could be really good there, but I need to see it. I need to see it against competition.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as a coach and as a player, you're always curious. I mean, I don't know of a human being alive, if they told you the truth about something, that wouldn't tell you that being curious and wondering and having confidence, and at times lack of confidence, excitement, nervousness. I mean, I still have all that every single day of my life. So I know the players do. I think it's how we manage it, how we embrace it, and ultimately how we protect each other when we start playing those games that will decide how quickly we get off and running. But I think every season brings the wonderment of who's going to be the guy to step up. Who's going to be the next great Cowboy? Who's going to be the All-American that no one saw coming? And I bring those things up because of those things have happened before. I think back to Michael Freeman 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was, going from an unknown fifth-year senior to a first-team All-American. Garrett McCain did the same thing, played part-time or had an important role as a sophomore, but as a junior, he's a first-team All-American, one of the best players in the entire country. So you never know what kids are going to do with the season that's coming. You never know what their hard work and investment in the offseason brings to the team. And you never know which young player in your team, when given a chance to play, might emerge and really show you he's ready. So that stuff is what's super fun. I remember being a little kid and thinking back when Pete left, I thought, who in the world will ever replace Pete? And then came Robin, right? And so every year they used to talk about around here trying to reload. And that's what you want your program to do, is have a next man up mentality and watch these guys shine.
Thanks, Josh.
Josh, you didn't lose a whole lot from last year, but at third base, you lost Caden Polkovich. Who are kind of some of the guys that are competing for that spot?
Yeah, Cade was an awfully good player for us in a short season. He played both third and second, and he was an awfully good player. But we've got some really nice competition on the infield. I'd say Christian Encarnacion has played really well at third base. He'll definitely be in the mix come opening day at third base. We've got some good depth at third with Nolan Mclean and Jake Thompson, as well as a couple of good freshman infielders that can move around the infield and play multiple spots. So I like our options there, Marshall. I like the way the kids in those positions have competed to this point, and we've got some options, some right-hand hitters, some left-hand hitters. So all those things will factor into kind of how we match up and manage it. But going into opening day, Christian Encarnacion is scheduled to play third base.
You got all three of your weekend starters back in Parker, Justin, and Bryce. Do you anticipate those being the weekend starters again, or is that kind of up in the air right now?
Well, obviously that threesome you mentioned there, Parker Scott, Bryce Osmond, Justin Campbell, pitched well in rotation last year, especially towards the end of the season. Add to that some really talented newcomers, and I think we've got some really good options in terms of who pitches on what day. We hadn't really set that in stone yet. Coach Walton, I know, is really focused on bullpens this week and getting guys kind of lined up. A lot of the day of the week and which game guys pitch has something to do with just how we were able to get their pitch count started and get their bullpen scheduled. But those three guys definitely are big in the mix. Justin Robleski's a talented newcomers, really looked awfully good for us. He's definitely in the mix, and we've got some veterans that can start games as well. So there's a lot of good options there, Marshall. And early in the season, you're going to need a deep bullpen because guys aren't stretched out to throw 100 pitches yet. So you might need essentially 2 starters per game piggyback together to get to the end of the game. So we'll get those guys lined up this weekend, and heading into Sam Houston, Coach Walton will kind of settle in on who's going to pitch which day. And, from that point on, it's usually a pretty good race to the finish line. So we'll need them all.
You mentioned Nolan earlier. How has he kind of adjusted now being full-time baseball out of football?
Very good. Very good. Nolan's he's a very focused kid, takes his athletics and academics very seriously. He's very committed to playing both sports, very committed to his body, takes great care of himself, which somebody would have to do to play 2 sports at once and go to school. So his focus is tremendous. He's a talented kid. He can do a lot of really good things. Got power. He's got a great arm on the mound, and he's a pretty versatile defender too. So we're just, again, trying to figure out how our team connects and fits together best and what roles all these guys will play.
And last thing for me, Caden Tranquil, he was on a bit of a hot streak whenever the season kind of ended last year. Is there a worry that kind of ends with how young he was, or how do you kind of keep that momentum that he had from last year coming into this year?
Well, Marshall, his momentum starts every morning when he wakes up, because he is a absolute fantastic kid, hard worker, straight A student, shows up and works hard, constantly striving to get better, asks great questions, very humble. He's just got a lot of makeup to go along with a lot of talent. And I feel that he'll continue to get better because of who he is. And, I always tell the kids, when you're good, you're not hot, you're just consistently good. And I think that's how I view him, and that's how I think he views himself.
Appreciate it, Josh.
You're welcome.
Coach, you've had a lot of guys go out to the Cave and play for your dad, but how cool was it this past year to have him here in Tulsa, especially given the circumstances around all the uncertainty with no summer leagues and all those type things?
Yeah, TJ, that was something that kind of got put together in, I guess, May, maybe early June, when the Texas League decided to house collegiate teams and find coaches that could put together a team. And obviously, One Oak Field's a awesome ballpark in the city of Tulsa. It's a great baseball town. When my dad got a chance to put a uniform on this summer and give kids a chance to play ball, it meant a lot to him. And then the kids that got to be on that team had a heck of an experience. I'll tell you that. Tulsa treated him great, played in some beautiful stadiums, and had a really good experience. So I'm grateful that worked out that way. Looking back now at the roster, that was a very good team they had assembled, and we had a lot of kids benefit from being on that team. So that was a positive at a time when baseball experiences were hard to create this summer. That was a positive one for everybody.
For sure. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Josh, you've hinted at different things you've done in practice, but have you been able to have a full squad workout together? Is that even allowed right now?
Yes, it is allowed, and we've had a handful of them. Yes, we've really benefited from O'Brate Stadium because of our ability to put the kids in groups and keep the practices moving for spacing and safety purposes, for accomplishing our goals in a shorter amount of time. So we've had to be mindful of what our team needs, but also not lose sight of the importance of working in groups, rotating through the facility, and avoiding any situation where a large group of kids get enclosed at one time. So we have been together. We have had some really good outside scrimmages, and we've also had a lot of days where, maybe I'm a pitcher who's only going to spend an hour at the field that day. And if I can get my throwing and lifting in and get out of the facility and stay safe, that's what we're going to do. So I'd say more than ever, Jacob, as a coach, I've had to learn to be okay with that. So much of the team and the baseball experience is the time spent together. And at times this year, we've had to kind of stay away from that for safety. But the work has been good. The team has been together on certain days of the week where it's made sense. And usually that's typically when it's an outside day, when being outside is the safest way to play baseball and all be here at the same time.
You mentioned some of the pitchers earlier. Eric Walker came in from LSU and obviously was really good as a freshman and had Tommy John. How has he progressed since he's been here?
Yeah, I'm super rooting for Eric. He had a good early fall. He got a little bit sore late in the fall. He's working through some of that soreness and trying to get back to full speed on the mound. His second semester work has been good to this point. Next couple of weeks will be real important for him as he continues to work his way back to full speed. But if healthy, Eric is a very experienced, skilled pitcher who's taken the ball and pitched in some of the biggest environments in college baseball and been awfully good at it. He's a mature, super likable kid. I mean, here's a grad transfer that we were really excited to get in the summer. And we're just trying to stay with him and get him back to 100%. And when we get him there, Jacob, he could really help our team. There's no doubt about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Welcome.
Josh, one thing we haven't talked about in the interviews that I've had with you is both run offense and run defense. I was going to ask you how that's come along, how much of a chance you've had to look at how well your team runs the bases, situational, and then also how you can defend those situations.
I thought we were going to talk some football there, Robert. You said run offense and run defense. I thought it was like 8 men in the box and, man on the back end or something.
Except for Division II in NCAA and junior college, football's over. The Super Bowl ended, so we'll move on.
All right. I appreciate that. I think we have a chance to run the bases in certain spots for sure. There's some pretty good raw foot speed. There's some intelligence on the bases with some of our bigger players that move well, but maybe aren't straight ahead base stealers that we can run in certain counts. The hit and run skills are still developing. There's some good bunt skills. So I think there'll be different pieces to our offense that hopefully we can find 4 or 5 different ways to score, right? Stringing together a bunch of hits, having a good at bat, drawing a tough walk, stealing a base, getting a guy over, getting him in. The hit and run, the bunt, all those things. And obviously we want to hit it over the fence whenever we can. So, I think there's some different looks in there, Robert, for sure. And maybe we'll blitz a little bit. Maybe we'll drop back in deep coverage.
And run defense with the catchers and your infield being able to stop people.
Yeah, I think the potential's there. Yeah, I think the potential is there. And I think just getting outside and getting a little bit more game speed rhythm, that part of the team will click for sure. At times we've defended really well. The two guys at the front of the catching position, Brock Mathis and Max Hewitt, are catching the ball well and communicating at a high level with the pitchers. That's positive. They're both definitely solid throwers, if not above average there. And I believe our infield defense, depending on the exact arrangement and who's out there, will be a strength of the team. So we just got to keep pushing, though. That's one of those things where there's rhythm and confidence on the defensive side that's developed. And I think that rhythm comes with a good early season push in a lot of baseball, which we're looking forward to.
You mentioned Max earlier. You had him play a little bit of second last year. He obviously moved to catcher a little bit last year. Is there one position, you mentioned catcher, is there one thing he's doing maybe more than the other right now?
Yeah, Max is working 99% of the time at catcher, and that's the position that for this particular ball club he'll be counted upon most to do his thing. And certainly he's versatile enough to drop back and do some other stuff for us, but he's spending his time at catcher.
Does that put Dylan Garner primarily at second then?
Dylan's working at second along with Huey Morrill and Matt Golda and a couple of talented freshmen.
All right, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, if you guys are done with Josh, we'll let him go. Cade Cabbiness getting ready to come down. We'll also have Bryce Osmond. I don't think Max is going to be available today due to the storm and practice rearranging, but we'll have those two guys for sure. So we'll get Cade down here.
Thanks, fellas. Nice to see you guys.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
What you said? Do you need me to do this or am I good?
You want to jump on the first then? Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to you and Cade right now, and then Bryce can be the last guy.
All right, curveball, pun intended. Max is here now. He's got a little bit of time, so you guys can chat with Max Hewitt real quick.
Yeah, let Max go, then you jump in there. Bryce is okay.
Max, how are you?
No, I can't hear him. Hello?
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Perfect. How are you today?
Well, how are you?
Good. Hey, Josh just said you're playing 99% catcher this year. Is it how much comfort is there for you knowing you're going to be a catcher this year going into the season and not necessarily playing multiple positions?
I mean, I feel really good about it. We're kind of a year into this catching deal now, and I had an opportunity to go play in Tulsa this summer and caught a ton. So just had more time to kind of pour into the fundamentals and kind of the art of catching and get with some guys. And I've learned a lot in the last year. So I feel really good about it going into this year.
Who's kind of been maybe the biggest help for you to learn more behind the plate?
We have a group of great catchers here. We work hard together every day on the fundamentals. Victor Romero's awesome. I talked to Colin Thoreau here and there. This summer I was with Mickey Tettleton all summer. I just try and learn from everybody. Anybody who has information that they're willing to share, I'm willing to listen and take the things that I think I'd like to incorporate, and I think that's been of great value. So, yeah.
What's maybe been the biggest thing you feel like you've improved on?
I would say I've just really prioritized my receiving. Last year, I felt like I did really good. I went in there and I said, you know what, I'm going to do my job and do my best. And I just feel as though now I've had more time to really dive into the fundamentals of receiving the ball and getting to the bottom part of the baseball and kind of, present the ball correctly. So I feel a lot more comfortable and I feel confident in my ability to do that now. So But across the board, working on transfer throwing, just getting comfortable at the position was the biggest thing.
And last one for me for now, how difficult has it been with practices, with COVID, with the shutdown to kind of get things accomplished and to have workouts? How challenging is this?
We've been really fortunate here. I mean, our fall went off pretty well without any hitch. I mean, we got all our scrimmages in, all our work in, and before that, like I said, there's a bunch of us that got to play this summer, and then during the spring where the shutdown itself happened, still found ways to train and get better and keep moving forward. So I would say it's been a productive year in the off season, and hopefully that shows.
Awesome. Thanks, Max.
Absolutely.
Hey, Max, I was wondering, when you do lose 40 games of your college season because of COVID, how important was that summer just to get those at bats, maintain repetitions, and carry over into this year?
It was incredibly important. I'm just so thankful for, the drillers for doing that, and for Tom Holliday for being willing to include me and bring me along for that, because I learned so much from everybody. That was a great team to be a part of, and I definitely left there feeling like I'd learned a lot, and it was a lot of fun too. So it was incredibly important, and I'm glad that we got to do it.
What did you do during March, April, May to stay somewhat in baseball shape?
I actually went and I stayed with one of my junior college teammates who plays at Oklahoma City University. His name's Peyton Crispin. And we worked out every day. I mean, we kind of put together a little garage gym, and we worked out every day, and we were able to hit. He's got a bunch of land out there, and we were able to hit and throw, and we stayed in really good shape, and we pushed each other while we kind of finished out our school online. So by the time the summer rolled around and the call came to play, I was ready to go. So I was really happy with how that turned out. That was his family was great to me. So I was really thankful about that.
Max, thanks a bunch. You have a good week. Okay.
You as well.
Yeah. Max, what's the difference in Oklahoma cold and Canada cold?
Well, I gotta say, Canada cold might be a little bit more fun, with the snow, you're able to go skiing, and it stays cold. So if you're going to make an outdoor rink, you don't have to worry about losing it during the day because it stays cold. But, I think here it just kind of sleets and it's kind of crappy out. But I'm never going to complain if it's cold for a couple days and we're going to be outside and next week wearing a T-shirt playing baseball. My dad's at home snow blowing the driveway right now. I'm sure he wish he could be down here. So I'll never complain about the weather. That's for sure.
Gotcha. Who, as far as the pitching rotation goes, who are kind of some arms that you think might surprise a couple people this season?
There's a lot of guys that I could name right now. When I think of the staff, I just up and down there. We got a lot of guys that have made huge jumps. There's some obvious guys that I think are outstanding. I love catching Parker Scott, man. That's a professional pitcher. I love catching him. I feel like catching him with a pair of chopsticks. He just knows where it's going. Robleski's got electric stuff. Had a lot of fun with Bryce this summer. He dominated all summer. He's really fun to catch. But when I look through our staff, I just see a lot of talent, a lot of depth, and a lot of guys that are willing to just play for this team. And it's really exciting to just look at the pitching staff as a whole and see how much talent is there.
As an older guy on the team, what do you make of, Nolan Mclean? He came in with a lot of intrigue, being a football player as well. How have you kind of seen him adjust to the college game so far?
I really like Nolan. One of my favorite things about him is obviously he's an incredibly talented young player, toolsy guy. His power tools off the charts, and he throws hard. 5 and 6 and 7s, you know, that's an unreal arm talent and athlete. But one of my favorite things about Nolan is, you know, that's a guy that's just got his head on straight, especially for how young he is. He's really mature, and he takes coaching really well. He talks every day with, obviously we have some of the best hitting coaches, you know, in college baseball with Robin and Matt, and seeing him get to work every day with those guys and see him grow over the off season. And, you know, he teaches me, you know, he's one of those guys, you know, he's really bought in and he loves baseball, and it's going to be exciting to watch his career and watch him grow, you know, over his however long he's here.
Appreciate it, Max.
It might be.
You guys done with Max or need more? All right, we'll let him go.
I think Robert's talking, but it's mute. I don't know. It's muted.
Robert, are you talking to us or the radio?
I think he's talking to radio.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll get Cade down here for you guys.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Thanks, Max.
Get down here. I'm not muted right now. Good. Okay. All right.
Cade, how's it going today?
Going good. How are you?
Good. Trying to stay warm.
Yeah.
You got a mix of veterans and young guys back. What do you think of the way this team is shaping up with this kind of a strange season probably approaching?
And it's been good, and it's been fun since the start. You know, like you said, we got a lot of older guys, a lot of younger guys, but we mix well. We have fun with each other, and you know, we're just going out there every day and putting our heads down, going to work together, and we're looking forward to what's coming up here pretty soon.
Hey, what was that experience with Tulsa like this season, the Drillers?
It was awesome. You know, it's not every most summers you're going halfway across the country to play summer baseball, and this year I got to stay at home, lived with my parents. Max lived with me this summer too, so we were with each other every day. It was awesome, and obviously I got to be with TH and Mickey and Randy Whistler for another year, and those guys are incredible. It was awesome. It was the best summer experience I've had probably.
How much did it help you as a player? Because the shutdown really could have impacted you. Lost so many games, so many things. How much did that help you as a player?
It definitely helped in not getting you out of touch with the game. You know, we ended in March, so I mean there was a good stretch there where it was up to you whether or not you got any ABs or were able to go hit somewhere. So when that opportunity presented itself, it was something you just jumped on real quick because, I mean, I didn't want to be not playing baseball for that long, especially if I was going to come back this next year. So it was a good opportunity, and I'm really glad I did it.
Thanks, Cade.
Thank you.
Cade, along the same thing there with the Tulsa experience, how close do you really feel that was to getting the feel of what it is to be a professional ball player? I mean, did the Drillers and the other teams in that league that were participating kind of treat it like it was professional, just you didn't get the check?
Yeah. You know, playing with the Drillers, it was cool, you know, because you get to be in like a professional environment, a AA environment every day. And a few other teams like Frisco and Amarillo had two teams. You go there and you get to go through a typical day, like, you know, like what it's like to be playing in the minor leagues. But I'd say the biggest resemblance is you're playing pretty much every day. Now, we didn't play as long as they do, but I mean, that's the biggest thing. You know, you go from college where you play 4 times a week, 5 times a week, maybe with a gap in between both those sets of games. Whereas in the minor leagues, you're not getting a gap. So if you're struggling, you better find a way to work through it. You don't get a few days to go and practice and work on it and step away from the game. It's an everyday thing.
How much better do you think it made you as a player doing that?
It definitely helped me a lot. Like I was saying earlier, ending in March was tough, so I hadn't been playing for a while, and it helped me a lot, not only as growth personally, but just coming into this year. So I didn't get that shock initially when I got back because it had been so long since I played. But I grew a lot this summer. I grew a lot mentally, I would say, is where I grew the most. I got into good headspace this summer and ended up having a pretty good summer, and got to work with Mickey Tettleton for a whole nother year, which was awesome. I love Mickey.
Thanks, Cade.
Thank you.
They say that you guys are supposed to open, the new stadium this year. It's been a thing, for forever. Is it? I don't know. Has it almost? I don't know to say lost its luster at this point, but are you just like, okay, it's going to happen one of these days, and that's just going to be how it's going to be?
No, I agree. It's been a while. No, it's still just as exciting. We're all looking forward to it. It's been a long time coming, that's for sure. 2 years ago, I thought we were sending Allie P off for the last time, and sure enough, the next year we're out there playing 18 more games out there, whatever it was. So, no, we're all looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome, and we have some great teams coming in this year, so it should be a good year here.
How much different are practices at the new place? It seems to have, a lot more things that you guys can do. How much different are the practices?
They're just a lot more efficient. That's the biggest thing I've noticed because we have so much more space. So we're not trying to cram things in everywhere. We can get people just working all over the place. And you have room to do it now. So it's a lot more efficient. That's probably the biggest thing, just the efficiency of practice.
Now that you've had a fall in it, is there an amenity that you like the most about it that you maybe didn't think too much about going in?
I probably did know, but the batting cage for sure. It's a lot better than the old hot box because there's so much more room in there, and those things are huge, and you get to see a lot, and you can have some fun in there. Right now it's freezing cold outside, but we're able to go in there and have live ABs. You can pull all the nets back, so we have enough room to do that. Definitely batting cage. It's awesome.
I appreciate it, Cade.
Thank you.
Cade, why do you think it was so important to get all you seniors back? Why are you smiling?
TJ, what's up, man? It's my guy.
All right, Cade. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, dude.
Yeah.
What? No, really. All these seniors came back. You guys all kind of announced at the same time last year. Why was that so significant and important for y'all?
I think the biggest thing, it's a pretty close group of guys. We've all been here for at least 4 years together, some of us 5. And, we were able to have the chance to come back. And we just had a short year. And I think everyone wanted to come back and finish up what we hadn't got to finish yet. So I think that was a big thing. And we're getting to play in O'Brate. That's kind of a hard thing to turn down, especially that we've been at Allie P for all those years. So I think O'Brate, and then just having the chance to come back. Like I was telling someone yesterday, luckily Oklahoma State granted us our scholarships back too, and I think that was another big thing in getting everyone to come back.
You mentioned being at home all summer. Did your parents get tired of you?
No, I think they loved it actually, and I know my mom loved it because I'm not always at home all the time. So the mom definitely loved it, loved having me back. I was so fortunate to be able to even play in Tulsa this summer. So getting to spend some extra time with my parents when usually I wouldn't be there was awesome. So that was a really good experience.
Nice. Good seeing you, Cade.
Good seeing you. Thank you. Yep. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Alrighty, I'm back. I think we're wrapping up with Bryce throwing a bullpen. So if you guys just want to hang out a couple more minutes, I'll go see where we're at there. So.